Good evening. This Good evening. This is Jane from Political Gravity. We have Suzette on the line, and I'm going to do a brief dedication to Pope Francis, and then I'm going to briefly talk about the interesting life of Robert Morales, a 57-year-old who was killed at Florida State, who was the dining room supervisor. He had some interesting details of his life, and it's a tragedy that he lost his. Tonight, Pope Francis died on Easter Monday at 7:35 a.m. Rome time. He was a very magnificent and admirable pope in the sense that he went the distance for the poor. And he's also going to be buried in a migrants' graveyard cemetery in Italy among migrants and immigrants instead of the traditional place where popes are buried. So he was Italian descent, and he was planning to be a chemist. And God called him to the priesthood, and he was the Cardinal of Buenos Aires before he was chosen to be Pope. Some people say he was too radical in his social justice claims, but he cared about the environment. He cared about especially the poor and disenfranchised and immigrants around the whole world. He had met with Vladimir Zelensky Volodymyr Zelensky several times, and he told Russia to stop sending his sons to war. And basically, he just cared about people. He even built bathroom and shower stalls in Rome for homeless people. He took the public transportation system when he was living in South America, and he always he carried his own bags when he was Pope up and down, like when he went to different places in the world. He visited Iran and the top Shiite Muslims, and they appreciated his visit, even though there were 2 assassination attempts that the Iranians prevented while he was there. And also, he did a bunch of wonderful things. The last thing I was going to mention about him is, well, there were just 2 things. The popes have a lot of jewelry and a lot of ornate jewelry, and he told them to put that aside for the 12 or 13 years that he served. And he just wore 1 cross around his neck and a white frock that covered his whole body. He wore simplified clothes. He didn't wear anything ornate. And he slept in the Vatican apartments that were like the most humble form of apartments. He didn't choose like a fancy place within the Vatican to sleep. So with that, I'm going to change the topic now. We can talk about him a little more once Suzette joins us. Then I was going to tell you about Robert Morales, the FSU dining room supervisor who was killed. The thing about him is he's very interesting. His father was a Cuban American operative. In other words, he helped the United States during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and he got shot in Miami in a bar when he was 43 years old. I'm talking about his dad now. And after the violent death of his father, the 2 brothers, Robert and Ricardo, were separated, and they were separated for 3 decades until they found each other. And recently, within the last 5 years, Robert Morales had a kidney transplant, and he was on his way to better health. Like, he had that around age 53. He was on his way to better health, and then he was able to function at his dining room job. But unfortunately, the gunman, who was the son of a deputy sheriff, killed him. along with a Aramark executive who Aramark is a company that like they clean rugs and they provide uniforms for a lot of companies. So with that, I'm going to bring Suzette in, and then we're going to talk about some other top news stories this week. Suzette?
Hello.
Yes, I did want to mention one more thing that popped in my head. The federal, I'm sure you might know, but you're not positive. The federal repayment system for student loans is still frozen in court. But today they announced they're going to go after people who have defaulted on their loans in the last 6 months to 5 years. And the federal government's even going to like do work garnishment, like paycheck garnishment on people who have slacked off. Now I'm in a I've never defaulted on my student loans, but I'm crippled by the fact that I can't renew my loan under the repayment system, which is lower payments. Otherwise, I'd be paying $884 a month for my student loan. So,
how far back did your loan go?
Actually, I accumulated too many loans. I've been paying it off for like 15 years, but I graduated in 2012. My second set of degrees. My first degree was paid for by my parents. So it goes back 13 years. But I was paying every year, but now they froze the repayment system and I'm in forbearance until February of 2026. But until the courts decide to release it, they're supposed to like correct the situation, and it's unclear right now if Trump is moving that department to the small business loans like he planned to say that he was. So I don't.
Well, if it goes back 12 years and they're only going to go back 5 years, then you should be clear.
No, I still owe money, but the people who defaulted like up to 5 to 10 years ago, they're going after those people.
Oh.
No, I'm not in a default category, so I'm not. They're not looking at me as like a problem child. But some people just don't. Like, there's a girl at my work who owes $50K, and she just let it slide. She didn't pay it back.
Ah.
So, what do you think about the Pope's passing?
I find it interesting that on the same day, Klaus Schwab had stepped down from the WEF.
What's the WEF?
The World Economic Forum. And the Pope was involved with that organization.
Did you know that J.D. Vance converted to Catholicism and that he visited the Pope on the same like about 12 to 18 hours before he died?
Yeah, wasn't that something? I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, like I knew J.D. Vance was religious, but I didn't know he was a Catholic. Because actually, a lot of Trump's religious minions are Baptists and Protestants. They're not Catholic.
Yeah, and his wife is Muslim, so I wonder if she converted too, or how that worked out.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't know she was Muslim. I knew she was from India.
Or from India.
Do you think she's Muslim?
Well, I believe she was bringing up their children in the Muslim religion.
I can look that up later once, like, Don and other people get on the air.
Okay. Yeah, I could be wrong, but I thought that was like some controversy when he was tapped to be vice president. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I only studied J.D. Vance a little during the election time. I know he has really conservative views about marriage and wife duties.
Yeah. And Indian women Well, she's a lawyer, isn't she? I believe she is.
Well, I think she has a high-ranking job, but she's probably submissive as a wife at home.
Yeah, that's true.
Like
That's
she's not a liberal, like a women's lib type person.
Yeah, that's true. I know that the Pope had double pneumonia like 2 weeks before he died. Like,
Yeah, he was in the hospital 38 days.
Yeah.
Now that I listen to the Catholic channel, I got updates on his health every day.
Oh.
I listened to the Catholic radio station, so I did get updates every day.
And it was confirmed by the people in his cabinet that the night before he died, he was having night terrors, like screaming and talking about demons taking him. And they were at the portal. The portal was at the foot of his bed.
Where did you hear that?
It was the story that had come out, I don't know, AP News or something that reported that, and it was confirmed by the Vatican. I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Don's calling in. Hold on. Okay. Okay, Don and Suzette, you're both on the air now. Don, she's talking about how the Vatican the Pope had bad dreams the night before his death.
No, well, who knows that?
Let her tell you where she heard it.
Go ahead.
The Vatican cabinet, or the people that are around him, and they were there with, the night before he died and stuff, and he was dreaming, having night terrors, and he was screaming and talking about a portal of hell being at the foot of his bed, and he was trying to fight against it going in. I was like, holy cow. So at first I didn't what is this all about, but it was actually confirmed by Vatican people.
Well, do you think that even people like the Pope fear the devil that much?
Oh, he shouldn't. Let me get this story. Go ahead.
The Catholic Church, it's a lot. It preaches a lot of evil, and it's not the best example of religion that we've ever had. They're, one of the biggest killers of people. Period. And
that was a long time ago, Don, and
they still do it.
They've changed a lot.
Do you understand that they are pedophiles? These people are just read it in the paper.
No, he went up against the pedophiles, and one of the cardinals that was claiming innocence, he defrocked and he removed.
Right. There were in many instances he was trying to I guess cleanse the clergy, but they're just inculcated, it's ingrained. As I said, I've given you an example quite a few times when I was in Italy, and the big uproar in the news was there was a bust of a cathedral, of a monastery, and they were having orgies with young men. So this is something that goes on. It's part of their culture. And as I said, I went to a Catholic university, and one of my kids went to Catholic school, and my first thing you teach them is never go in a private room with a priest. That's the first thing you teach them. This is way back when. So this is not an ideal religion to set examples for.
Could you say something nice about the Pope and not start out on a negative note? Because he helped the poor. He took public transportation. He elected to be buried in a pauper's grave in an immigrant cemetery. He never wore flashy clothes. He built showers for homeless people in Rome. He helped a lot of the hungry and the poor.
Right, and that's true, but it didn't get it hasn't gotten us anywhere. As a matter of fact, we're gotten a little farther behind because religion right now is the second leading cause of all these conflicts we have all over the world. And fortunately, he did come from Argentina, so he had a little softer background, understanding the plight of the disenfranchised, but he still didn't do anything of significance. One cardinal, several bishops, I think one out of Boston, and I think one out of Atlanta, I'm not sure. But a sum of, that's a small sum of his parts. This is a huge problem that goes nation.
We know all about the Catholic Church and the sex scandals. However, because you're not me and you don't listen to.
They believe in the devil. The devil, whatever.
The devil is real. The devil tempts people.
Somebody wants to call in the show.
Okay.
And
So, but I've got a gentleman that might be calling in, just wants to hear the show. But so for the most part, there is. It's not a perfect world. Let me just put it like that.
okay, why don't you mute yourself for 5 minutes while I do a little talking? Damage control. Suzette?
Yeah, but you're blind, just like all of you.
You can't. There's 3 words.
Blind.
You can't say that on our channel. You can't say you guys don't know what you're talking about because
I didn't say that.
you have a $40 fine for last week that I had to edit your comment out.
$40. That's a lot. That's all right. I'll pay it.
Okay, I'll reduce it. I'll reduce it to $5 if you behave tonight.
I'm behaving. Go ahead.
Okay, you can stay on the air, but I have some things to say. Please hear me out, and then Suzette can give feedback. First,
remember, I went to Jesuit University. Bye-bye.
You can stay on the air. Just let me talk. Okay, first of all, I listen to the Catholic channel on the way to work and the way home every day. They pray the rosary. They talk about religious concepts that are helpful for the average Joe. They talk about people committing to their faith and doing the weekly sacraments like a communion, confession. And there is good aspects to the Catholic religion. It's built from God, and it started with Peter, who built the church in the 1st century after Jesus died. He was the first pope. I know there's corruption, but there's a lot of good. The Catholic Church and the Baptist Church help the poor more than any other religion. They have soup kitchens everywhere and homeless shelters.
Right, and women, they are the ones who are the cooks and the cleaners, and they clean up the toilets, and they have no chance to be priests. And that's one of the saddest, critical parts, but it's one of only of many. I can't even fathom people relegating women to such, service slave class, and they do it all the time. That's what I norm. So this is something that
I don't know what you're talking about.
There are no women priests. We were at a conversation about it a couple weeks ago, where they're just trying to get women priests, and they've come up with a couple of them, and one in America, one in somewhere else. I forgot where the first one was, and they ordained them, but the actual Vatican has not confirmed them. So they still say there's 0 women priests. That's an that's almost an abomination. And it's a sin to sleep with your, same person, same-sex person. That's an abomination. So these things are going on at the Catholic Church right in front of
I got your link, Suzette.
Yeah, I sent you that article about the Catholic women
The only
Priests-
problem is
priestesses.
I use this phone for everybody to call in, so I can't
Uh-huh.
read it right now. But I'm gonna read it after I hang up.
Yeah, no worries. I sent it. Well, I actually sent it to Dawn, and then I sent you the article. Now I can't remember what it's about. We had talked about it, and I told you I'd send you the article on it about it. Shoot.
So, anyways, let's involve. I'm gonna be calling John Yoder soon, so I want to get some feedback from Suzette based on what Don said, and then just some overall. Like he tried to resolve issues with Zelensky, and he shut down Putin, and he also sent a letter to Donald Trump about being more sympathetic to migrants. So I wanted some feedback from Suzette.
Well, I give him credit for his convictions. I think he overstepped a lot of his authority or power in the church, by imposing himself on different countries and their leaders and governments and stuff. I was not really happy about that. In my opinion, I would say, who are you?
What do you mean by that? Like, just
influence.
what do you mean by that? Can't he like meet world leaders and be friendly? Or are you saying that he was like giving them a mandate?
Kind of. He can meet with whoever he wants to meet with. It's just, I think that when he feels like he has some power or authority over any leader or anybody else for that matter, that for some reason the Catholic Church thinks that they are above everybody, all other religions, and people treat them that way too as well. And they have all these secrets in the Vatican, and it's like nobody's allowed to see them for some reason. I don't know if they believe that it's too much for the public to see or read or what, but I don't like that the Catholic Church itself, not necessarily the Pope, but he was part of it, but that they guard these documents and books and writings and see themselves as special. And it's just, I don't care for that part, but as far as their teachings go and what they do, and as far as their good works, that's within Christ, walking with Christ. So that's good. So I'll say that. And again, that they heed to their convictions and their beliefs. So.
Yeah, I know there's secrets in the Catholic Church, but they're not going to release them the same way Donald Trump's releasing the JFK archives.
Oh, well, yes and no.
God's
the Catholic Church has been doing this forever.
The God's going to release on Judgment Day. Everything's coming out, so people don't have to worry. All of those who have repented of their sins will be safe, but dark things that have happened, like if we don't repent and we live a life of darkness and we're a phony Christian, then people like that are the ones who are going to pay the price.
I'm curious about what you think about. I'm curious what you think about the Vatican is a city within a city. Okay, and they haven't taken any so-called migrants within their city walls.
Yes, he did. When he went to a country, I think it was El Salvador, he brought 59 illegals back with him on the plane.
Yeah. 59?
I think it was 59.
Oh.
Well, if you've ever been to Italy, it's one of the most bigoted countries there is. And a lot of because they don't want to admit that they're black. They're right there, Mediterranean.
Isn't it very populated with tourists?
Yeah, it's populated with tourists, but they don't welcome black immigrants or anyone else in Italy. So they welcome tourists to a point, but they're very picky. Their eye on.
Why do you say that, Don? Did they give you funny looks when you were visiting?
Oh no, Italy's one of the places I probably can't go to for a while. So there are things that people of color have to watch out for when they're going through, especially Rome, because they're not treating African or African Americans very well.
Well, a famous comedian. I'm gonna read this to Suzette. During the 2016 visit, the Pope brought 12 Syrian refugees, 3 families with 6 children who were facing deportation from the island back to Italy with him aboard the papal plane. I don't know what happened to them after that, but he brought them back with him.
Yeah.
That's his new harem.
Don, you promised me you'd behave tonight.
I am.
Don, have you fully repented for all your sins in life?
Well, first of all, I'm not Catholic, and second of all the sins that I've had, there's no repentance. But that's the main thing is that, when you talk about doing everything, being a pedophile, being
He's not a pedophile.
Everybody, stop it. Anyway, when you can just go to church one time and confess your sins and you're absolved, that is the most ridiculous piece of shit I've ever heard. So that's something that
you can go to Jesus. You don't have to go to church.
Yeah, but I mean, they say you have to go to confession. You have to see a priest in private so that he can get all of your sins. So that's something that is almost as much as the rosary as a necessity. So those are things that you have. When you're like that, it's almost a dictatorship. The Pope, he knows what's going on, and for one cardinal and 3 bishops to be excommunicated is ridiculous. So it's absolutely, farcical, and for everybody to worship these folks.
You can't really argue. The Catholic Church has been around 21 centuries. They're more powerful than you. Don, you can't criticize every aspect of the church.
How could it be critical it's about family? 100% about family.
Well, everybody likes the Pope. Why are you being such a pissant?
I'm not talking about the Pope. I said I give him credit for being sympathetic to the disenfranchised because he came from our. So he understands the plight. I give him credit for that. I just take the credit away because he had stuff.
Hi, John.
And he never did it. He didn't finish. He didn't get to finish it yet.
Okay. Anyways, John Yoder's on the air, guys. Say hi to him.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
Hi. How you doing, John?
I'm trying to get some money out of AutoZone and, basically taking on machines.
Like what money? Are you getting a part of your car fixed?
I helped a friend last month and we bought a tool and I lost the receipt, but I paid cash. But they have it in their system and they have to print it out, the receipt, before I get the credit. So I'm dancing with them.
Wow.
What's a Turo?
Oh, I'm sorry?
What was the item that you bought?
No, it's a gift that you would want, Jane. It's a nut splitter, if you can believe it.
Okay, by the way, Don got fined last week for his last comment, so don't make too many bad jokes.
Oh, I'll try to do my best.
All right. Was your friend female that you helped?
Yeah, Kosa, I helped him get a vehicle, and he's working with the UCI medical system down in Orange County, and so his car wasn't running, and he has a degree, he just got it, so he needs to work to support his 4 kids. And
You told me about him.
Yeah, so he didn't qualify for this credit, so it was one way or another I was going to have to basically get the title for him. So that's what we did. And, so when we talk about helping the Black community, here again, not only am I saving 50 kids in Africa, Nairobi, that are human trafficked, I'm now saving a father of 5, because he has one with his first girlfriend. I'm helping the Black man again. I'm saving them because he wouldn't be able to work his job and support his family of 5. It's not Obama, it's not Harris, it's not any of these people. It's Johnny Rock.
By the way, I told Bianchi tonight, I haven't called him yet. He cannot bring up any topic on the show that criticizes Black people.
I love the Black people.
No, I know you do, but he can't say things that he said last week regarding literacy for Black people. He can't talk about people having abortions from a certain race. I censored him.
Well, it's my favorite cause, supporting Black people, actually.
Speaking of
That's one.
speaking of white people, if you buy my book, I will start sending money again for the African campaign.
Well, if you were Black, I could help you out more.
Well, I'm wearing.
Just kidding.
I don't need to be Black. Okay. Anyways,
I guess you did have a little Black in you one time.
say hi to Suzette. John, say hi to Suzette. She was sick for 10 days.
Hello, Suzette. How are you doing, gorgeous?
I'm doing fine now, for the most part. But yeah, we caught the flu. And then
So what's the
back and forth.
So what's the hot topic tonight?
We discussed the Pope in full, and then Don threw the Catholic Church under the bus. I talked about the guy from Florida State University, Robert Morales, who was killed, the kitchen supervisor, and him and his brother were separated for 30 years after the death of their father, and then he had a kidney transplant 4 years ago, and then that dumb kid killed him in that gun shooting at FSU. And that's about it so far.
Oh, wow. Yeah, a lot of killing going on. A lot of people dying.
Right. Oh, then, Suzette, can you tell John about what the Pope dreamed and saw the night before his death?
I guess it was a month before, so I have to correct myself. But yeah, he was having night terrors about demons trying to take him to hell. And he would see them at the foot of his bed. He was claiming that the portal was there and that they want to take him.
What do you think
Vatican
about
confirmed the
that?
story.
Like, oh, I was gonna say, John, what do you think about that? Like, he's a strong man of faith. His joy was to help others. Like, why would a top papacy person even feel threatened when you're living on the promises of God's word?
Well, because he rejected the savior of modern society, Donald Trump. He didn't like Trump at all.
Did you know Trump lowered the flags for him? Did you know that Trump and he's going to the funeral?
True. If you look at pictures of them together, the Pope was always frowning. He would smile with other leaders, but not with Trump. He didn't like his policies on border. He didn't like Trump's gender agenda. because this is the Pope that was trying to promote gay marriages in
Well,
the church.
I did find out a correction on that, John. He made a comment once saying like if a gay person like goes to church and is a do-gooder in the world, who am I to judge him? But he was actually against gay marriage, I found out. He did not affirm gay marriage. He just affirmed that gay people are not unworthy.
Well, I've read other things. I'll do a little more research on that. I know that he hated our policy on the border, and he's very a little bit progressive, I guess I would say, as a Pope. But the true Catholic teachings aren't very scriptural at the core. So
yeah, we know
that's a
that
problem.
they've added a lot of things that aren't in the Bible. Like, for one thing, when they canonize somebody, I see that's okay. But did you know, like, for 365 days every year, there's at least 2 or 3 saints that are honored per day? Like, that's a bit overwhelming. Like,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, we're just mortals. We're only humans. And even if somebody did great things, they did it for the glory of God. And not everybody should be immortalized because of that. It's just part of the religion. What do you guys think about the Pope visiting the Iranian Shiite Muslim elite? He went to go even to Iran to visit them.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, he can talk to who he wants to. You never want to shut down any type of dialogue. At least, that's what I believe. But, yeah.
Well, I felt like he made honest attempts to involve people. So, do you guys think I should call Bianchi now or what?
Sure.
John, are you still there?
Oh yeah. In fact, my brother just called me. My black brother. Let me call him because I'm trying to get some money out of the auto zone. So let me call him back. I'll call you.
Okay,
that.
I'm gonna add Bianchi now to the call. 1 second. Sorry, guys.
I mean, you guys aren't having fun anymore because this is about as good as it gets. We're in Goldilocks, where salaries are about as high as they've ever been. Generally, goods and service and retail, consumer goods are almost as safe as they've ever been. You saw today where they're going to try to take out all these dyes. People are living under all these electrical transmission wires and everything. And I mean, Americans are killing themselves, and they're thinking they're living on top of the world. And it's so funny to see because, where I go, I'm everywhere, and so I see they're having problems. They're having problems living. They're having problems breathing. They're having problems being able to get around. And it's distributing the country and polarizing everyone and making necessitating a need for the police and militarization that we've seen because these folks can't protect themselves. None of these people over, I can tell them, say 40 years old, if they didn't have a gun and didn't have the access to get it, it is, if something happens, you got to, if they don't have the wherewithal to be preemptive, then they're done. And it is a travesty. That's why I own a dance, fitness, and nutrition business. And out here with my grandkids every day, making sure that everybody in my family is healthy and happy and well-rounded. And so that's where being a parent comes in. Being, the church is polarizing because they only take care of their flock, and we need to be able to take care of the village. So that's where I come in, and I can give the Pope all the props he wants, and the church can take all the credit it wants, but it is one big travesty that is losing parishioners left and right. So that's we're coming into the 21st century, and people are finally realizing the virtues and vicissitudes of some of these organizations, and the Catholic Church is second only to the American government. And what's happening is that, as I mentioned, John didn't hear, but the Chinese are buying all of our stocks, and they're doing it in the cause of national defense for themselves, because they are so invested in our stock market that if it goes down, their profits, their profits go way down fast, and so they're buying up all the wealthy Chinese oligarchs who used to go to casinos are now buying up all of our stocks in our stock market, and it will go back up. So that means China will be rich again, make China rich again.
I did hear that they returned a Boeing jet to America as a symbol of some sort.
Well, what's happening is that there's a division, the Jetson engine division, that they're going to buy, Boeing is going to sell off. And it's kind of a gesture. And it's also, extra baggage for Boeing because they have to come back. But, from the last few years of complete negligence, and the thing is that the Chinese are buying our stocks. They will gain a huge profit at our expense, and again, own a larger chunk of America. And so the collateral damage, or the what do they call it? Unintended consequences.
I heard it was something to do.
Short-sightedness of our white leadership.
Don't companies have to be doing well in order for the stock market to be doing well? And so
No, Suzette. The stock market is maybe also, everything is also money. Everything is also what is invested in it. It's like any other supply and demand situation. If there's a demand for certain stock, there can be a demand for 5-cent stock that makes condoms. And then all of a sudden, you got Kathy Wood and Robin Hood and all these folks putting, $6 billion into the stock, and the stock goes up to 15 cents. And the next thing you know, they're selling, making their profit, and goes back down to 1 cent again. It's merely about the supply and demand. It's not about how a company performs.
Well, supply and demand means selling and satisfying the demand.
You know who Kathy Wood is?
Who? What? Who?
Kathy Wood.
No, I've heard her name before, but I don't know anything about her.
She's one of many, many investors. This is a whole class of investors who are, they take profits. They manipulate the stock market by making artificial inflows, temporary inflows to certain stocks. That's what they did with AMC theaters, and what was the other one? Doggone it. There was another one where they just put a shitload of money into it, made the stock artificially grow, and then at a certain point, they take the money back out, and you're back at square one. And they do it over and over and over again, and it ranges, the percentages of the stock market, and everything. But they do it to, stocks that are relatively insignificant or have been beaten down because they know that they're going to be the only ones who are going to take advantage of it after, it's nothing but a Ponzi scheme where they are in it, first. They bring their friends in it, and all anybody who wants in, and then they take the money out abruptly, and it goes right back down. So it has nothing to do with the performance. As a matter of fact, AMC and the other company, I'm forgetting that right now, but they were on the brink of going towards bankruptcy. So
I wanted to read something before John gets back on the air, because I can't. When I change screens, I can't see his call. So the Boeing 737 MAX, painted with the livery of Xiamen Airlines, was sent back to the U.S. production hub in Seattle after being returned from Boeing's Zhoushan facility in China. China is developing its own commercial aircraft with Comac C919, aiming to challenge Boeing and Airbus in the global market. But now that there's a trade war, Chinese airlines have been instructed to halt new orders with Boeing and to seek government approval before accepting scheduled deliveries, because Boeing was providing them with parts and service. What do you guys think of that?
So Boeing is here, and they have to get permission from their government to accept deliveries.
Yeah, to get more new deliveries needed to improve their airline production.
Oh, okay.
I think them sending the aircraft back was a symbol, but I'm not sure if the Boeing planes are used for delivering material goods to the U.S. I'm not sure.
So then, well, if they sent them back, that's fine. I mean, with the tariffs and everything, we weren't going to pay them what they want.
I'm just understanding, like Don said, the Chinese are buying up our bonds, but I heard that nobody was buying the U.S. bonds in the last couple of weeks.
I did not say shit about bonds. I said stocks. Nobody's buying bonds right now because they're going back up with these tariffs. The tariff scare bond rates have stabilized and are possibly going back up. So, and that was contrary to the real estate prognosticators who are saying that they're going to be if these things hadn't happened with 47, that our interest rates would have been going down if she hadn't applied these tariffs. Interest rates would have been going down, inventory of houses would have grown, and prices of housing would have probably gone down. And so this summer would have been an prime opportunity to purchase houses, especially for first-time home buyers, which is crucial for America, the way that our economy runs, to have home ownership. And everyone is running around as renters. They're not even participating in the Constitution, because the Constitution was written for land homeowners, specifically white land homeowners. So all these people who are renting, all these people who are immigrants, illegal immigrants, all these people came over like Trump with his wife and no birthright citizenship rights. These people should be all kicked out. Bianchi should be on here so that he can agree with me and say that these people should be gone and they shouldn't even be here, and maybe Bianchi should be gone, because I don't know if he had birthright citizenship. These folks are just...
No, Bianchi is an American-born Egyptian. He's an American. He was born here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you guys, I don't really want to do a really long show tonight. I'm just wondering if either Dawn or Suzette have studied. They say that the stock market now is permanently damaged. So has anyone been following that this week?
Who's been saying this? Who said that?
PBS and CNN.
Oh, okay. Just curious.
How much more liberal can you get?
Well, don't make me laugh too hard because I have a stomach ache tonight. It seemed they closed early on Good Friday. I heard it's not in good shape.
Well, that might not be a bad thing. I mean, honestly, it's just it's what do they call it? Realigning our economy so that people like us, or like me, I can always speak for myself. The wage gap or the income gap it won't be so great, where you have all these elitist winners all the time, where small time can't even get a break, and that's where we are or where we were, and so things are being shaken up, so that it can disrupt that what was going on.
Let me just read this blurb quick and then you guys can respond. U.S. stock futures, Asian equities, and the dollar rallied after Trump said he is not planning to fire Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. The president also said that the 145% tariffs on China are very high. It won't be that high, Trump said. It'll come down substantially. Earlier Tuesday, U.S. shares rebounded with major indexes climbing 2.5% or more and big tech stocks regaining some ground from a day earlier. Okay, well, that's good news, right?
Mm-hmm. Unless he fluctuates again.
It's not good news because the day before it was down 960 points. And today it was only down 800, or up 800, so it lost a net of 140. I'm not sure about the numbers because I didn't see today's close, but for the most part, we're talking about still a net loss of 100 basis points.
I think
over 160 or 40 basis points.
Yeah, like over 30 days, it lost more than the crash of 2008, I believe.
Well, today it ended with the stock market. The Dow ends up over 1,000 points, S&P 500, and NASDAQ score best day in 2 weeks on hopes of U.S.-China trade tensions.
Yeah, the last time I heard it was up 800, but if it's up over 1,000, that means in the last 2 days it has netted about what was today's close, Suzette?
1,000, and the S&P 500.
So it was 1,000.
Oh yeah, 1,000 points.
Okay, so that means that it probably in the last 2 days has netted about 40 points. So that's not. I mean, that's a wash. And for this is normal for this for 47 because he makes his own crises and then runs in to fix it. And that is the illusion that the electorate or his electorate is going under, because essentially many of these crises that we're encountering the last actually 6 years, 5 years, is made, and then he comes in, changes his mind, of course, as usual, lies, cheats and steals, and then brings plans for corrections, and that's the norm.
Yeah, like the New York Times said today that his shock and awe strategy is damaging the White House.
Market Watch says that the dollar is still king, and it's been weakening. But the expectations of a structurally strong USD was predicted on U.S. exceptionalism and attractiveness of USD assets at good and bad times, and the maintenance of a low-risk premia the strategist wrote in a note today. So
Yeah, well, I mean, everything is going down. So when you say low risk, that just means you don't have enough money as much money to invest as you did before. That's just what low risk means. But when you say a dollar is still king, our dollar will always be king for the foreseeable future.
mm-hmm.
But there will be, and there has always, we've talked about this Jade Helm, gosh, how many years ago? 11 years ago?
Yeah, something like that.
Where,
Jade Helm we discussed in 2015.
yeah, we're looking for a central bank headed by China and India. So that hasn't come to fruition yet, but they're still trying.
Mm-hmm. But I would say that at least it has, as far as the dollar being king, we were leading basically the value of our dollar, and at least it's come to a halt for now anyway. Who's to say what happens tomorrow? But at least for now, the bleeding is stopped as far as the value of it itself. So take it for what you will. It's something. It's something.
Okay,
And pretty soon we eat the bugs.
I have a couple comments before we end the show. The one person that Trump didn't fight this month is the Pope. Now, the Pope did send him a certified letter about being kind to immigrants. But Donald Trump responded positively. When the Pope died, he said nice things about him. He lowered all the U.S. flags, at least in D.C. for one day. He's going to the funeral of Melania. Do you think this is a political
His dead body.
Do you think
had to beat him up to get him to go?
Joe Biden dropped out of the Pope talks because of a crisis in the government in December? I can't read. He was supposed to meet with the Pope in December and something fell through. But anyways, to make a long story, do you think it's because J.D. Vance converted to Catholicism that Trump is being so nice, or that Trump recognizes there's a lot of Catholic constituency, including that female judge with 6 kids on the Supreme Court?
Yeah, it goes with the other dignitaries and dictators and presidents or whatever to pay their respects. A lot of countries have Catholics, so yeah, why not?
By the way, the Christians are 2.1 billion in the world, and Muslims are only 1.6 billion, and there's only 15 million Jews. But I think that's a lot of Jews, considering they killed 80% of them in Europe about 100 years ago, or about 80 years ago. So does
the Muslims may be as far as a smaller population, but that won't be for long.
It's the fastest.
Expand quickly, take over areas, stuff like that.
We're making babies. That's what it is. Jane had it earlier. White people don't have sex, and they don't even know how to do it anymore. So it says they're losing their population minus 4.6 per year, and that's a travesty.
Mm-hmm.
Don, white people take oaths of celibacy too.
That's the stupidest shit I ever heard.
Okay, well, Suzette, what's your conclusion tonight?
My conclusion is, I think today nobody freaked out over anything that I could tell on the news or Twitter or anything else. So that's good. People are starting to at least calm down. If not calm down, then just not be, jumping on the first thing that comes out, whatever it may be, both sides as far as on Twitter. So things are settling down. Maybe it could be people are learning to choose their battles and, when to start going crazy. So that's good. I'm glad for that for our country.
I have 1,300 followers on Twitter. 1,308.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Can you follow me?
Yeah, I was looking for you.
I'm under Janessa, Janessa Hoffman, and my handle is I am a bot 1960. What?
Okay,
I am a bot. What's your handle?
my handle is at Daily News.
Really? You found one that's simplified that nobody else took?
Yeah, because
So
I spelled it different.
so it's there's an @ sign in it?
Yes.
Okay. I'll try to
And
find
it's spelled DAYLEE space NUUZ as in zebra.
Jeez. Just a
Daily
minute.
News.
I gotta write that down. Daily NUUZZ.
UUZ.
Okay, I'll find it. I'll add it tonight. And then
Cool.
once you see that I added you, then you can add me.
Okay, I was going there right now to do that.
So I did do one mean thing this week. I got in a conflict with an employee, and he did a public dance recital for the Minnesota Ballet because he used to be a DJ in Minnesota, Wisconsin area. And 4 people wrote positive comments, but I wrote such and such is not a public figure because he only has 100 Twitter followers.
Oh.
You shouldn't really.
Wait a minute. Governor of Minnesota, I think. Rollins, me it said. I don't know. I'll have to look.
It's not the governor of Minnesota. It's an employee I had a conflict with.
Oh.
Well, that was mean of me, but I couldn't think. You're not supposed to take vengeance if you're a Christian. You're supposed to just pray for a resolution. Don, what's your conclusion?
I have been saying since our second show, because the first show was he was just listening like 12 years ago, 13, 15, 14 years ago. And second show I said that everything that's going on is about the black and white conflict and black subjugation. And it's proving right because that's exactly what's happening. Everything that's going on right now is black subjugation. It's not even about the fact that his followers are being subjugated too. They're getting they're victims of crime, theft.
I forgot to mention that a black mega preacher in Atlanta told all his black followers to boycott Target.
Right, but that was months ago, and they're still going on. And they said to support Costco because they wanted to continue DEI and certain programs that benefited minorities. And so this is a blatant race war that is so strange because black people aren't involved in it. This is white people fighting white people, liberals against conservatives over what should be done with minorities. And it's one of the funniest things you can ever see is white people fighting white people over subjects that they have no clue what they're fighting about. Same thing with the Vietnam War, and same thing with World War I. So we're talking about is this norm now? And it's going to destroy the United States. It already has. We're in our decline.
I just don't want all the poor people to lose their programs because then there's just going to be more homeless people.
Exactly. And there's less care. The hospitals aren't going to be able to take in even the same numbers because they're not going to have to be doctors and service staff. And insurance companies are going to go up in price. And they're going to demand stricter doctoral and medical services. And so if it continues to I see a bill that goes on, or if I need a new law, because I'm a lobbyist, so I need a new law, I go to the legislature, I make it. But everybody else, people who know nothing, who care nothing about politics, the Catholics, they're the worst. So you're talking about that. That's what we are working against. I can't say fighting because everything that goes on under God's watch, He already knows what's happening. So everything that's going on, everybody might as well be called because it's going to happen. That's my conclusion.
All right, we're gonna end the show because there's too much interference. Thank you for calling in, and God bless you all. All right, bye-bye.